Hello, my name is Amisha Lewis, and as we all know, we had to conduct a research project. Our research question states, how was Dr. Gregory Jenkins a professor at Howard University, able to use his knowledge and research in the field of atmospheric physics to contribute to the recovery of people affected by natural disasters and resource shortages caused by climate patterns that may or may not be attributed by global climate change? Before interviewing Dr. Jenkins, we were able to conduct some research on global climate change and atmospheric physicists. Global climate change is basically the destabilization of Earth's climate system caused by the increase in concentration of greenhouse gases in Earth's atmosphere. Because of the Industrial Revolution, there was an increase in carbon dioxide of 35 by 35%, which causes harm to the air that we breathe. The greenhouse gases also cause harm to the greenhouse gases also trap heat when they absorb infrared radiation, and that causes the earth to warm up. Global climate change will become devastating if the earth's temperatures continue to rise. There will be severe weather there will be more severe weather events such as hurricanes, floods, avalanches, and windstorms. There will be water shortages, food scarcity, and diseases such as malaria, cholera, and Lyme disease in countries that normally should have been too cold for those diseases to exist. The sea levels will also begin to rise due to the melting of land-bound ice and thermal expansions of oceans. Because of global climate change, atmospheric physicists exist. An atmospheric physicist is a scientist. Oh Lord. An atmospheric physicist is a scientist that studies the Earth's atmosphere and its influence on the environment, human and animal health safety, as well as the economy. They study air pressure, pollution, cloud formation, chemical properties, temperature, humidity, and precipitation, and apply their knowledge to solving questions about atmospheric change, pollution's toll on the oceans and the ozone, and the impact this damage has on the Earth's ecosystems. Atmospheric physicists are important to us because they help to reveal the truth behind Earth's changes in the atmosphere.
Dr. Jenkins, an atmospheric physicist and professor here at Howard University, is an exceptional individual. Using his research in climate, weather patterns, and climate change, he determines what measures to take to keep people safe during natural disasters. He specifically concentrates on safety and relief measures for West Africans, particularly in Senegal, minorities in America, and even Howard University students. He is a perfect example of a Howard scholar who uses his skills in academia to contribute to both the recovery from and prevention of tragedy during natural disasters.
Okay, so tell me about your background information, your private life, like when, where you were born.
Born when or where?
Both.
Back in the day, pre 1970, post 1960. Philadelphia, West Philadelphia. Pennsylvania. But my parents go back to South Carolina and North Carolina.
Okay. So what field of study are you in?
So I'm in the physics department, but my research is around weather and climate issues. So I use physics to understand how short-term weather changes, so whatever that is, from hurricanes to floods. And I use physics for understanding climate change, and my research is primarily around West Africa, but I am interested in looking at impacts of weather and climate on, especially on minority communities in the United States and the Caribbean.
Okay. Why did you decide to enter that field of study?
I really was fascinated by um, what what was the underlying causes for weather, like why would it rain or what's the physics behind it. I've always been interested in like things around nature, so always, and that's, I think the atmosphere is like a living laboratory where you don't often have to have a whole lot of instruments or things. You can actually formulate ideas about what you think is going on. And it was when I was a junior in college, I was at Lincoln, I was a physics major, and very much interested in high energy physics, but more interested in why drought was occurring in West Africa. And that is what drove me towards doing my PhD in atmospheric and space math.
All right. So, we understand that like global climate change is kind of like a big issue,
Mhm.
and that's kind of what you concentrate on, right?
Mhm.
So, and I understand that you do a lot of your research in West Africa. So,
Mhm.
can you tell us about your research in West Africa and what you've done there?
So, I've done both chemical and meteorological measurements, a field campaign in Cape Verde. We are still trying to understand what drives drought and floods in West Africa. There are so many vulnerable people, and there's so little infrastructure in terms of people being able to actually do anything, that I feel like my goal is to help the institutions there. So it's not just doing research, it's also how do I help them build capacity to protect their own populations. And, you know, our history goes back to these areas. So I feel like I'm doing something that's actually deeper than just research. For me, is also understanding myself, understanding the people that I came from. And when I take students there, and have taken a lot of U.S. students there, we do more than just research. The idea is to find out who are you, and what is your connection to right now, what's happening. I, I don't know what to say about that. I do the research, but what I've seen is growth in the students. Like I've seen them grow up when they go to West Africa and they come to grips with what they've heard. You know, some of it's like, I don't know, kind of fantasy stuff, and then but some of it's like true, in terms of like coming to grips with poverty or coming to grips with, you know, people who may be locked out, but also coming to grips with students who are just like them, like dealing with the same issues, and just seeing how they just deal with the same stuff. It's so interesting to me, just the connection.
What kind of efforts have you made in America? Like you mentioned Hurricane Sandy.
So Sandy, Katrina. So
Yeah.
just when things, just from a university perspective, so when things are happening that will impact students on this campus, I'm part of the emergency management team, and I meet with the chief and we talk about things. So we've had blizzards here, and I've given them like worked up all night working to make sure that they have like the latest stuff, telling them like, look, you should cancel classes today. It's too dangerous for not just the students, but also the people who have to drive in. We had Hurricane Irene last year. We had Hurricane Sandy this year, and I was in Senegal when Hurricane Sandy was coming up the coast. And I was just, one good thing was like I was 4 or 5 hours ahead, so I could send them reports at 8 a.m. It's still 3 a.m. on the East Coast, or 4 a.m. So they would have like live stuff, but it would be things about like, I mean, hazards. And so I taught a course in 2007 after Hurricane Katrina, and it's really about how do you keep vulnerable people safe in natural hazards.
Okay. Well, that's all the questions I have for you. Thank you very much. This is very insightful.